Not all of our goals have to be huge. In fact, I really like to lean into the power of mini goals, and every year I set myself a fairly substantial list of little things that I want to accomplish. In 2024, this was my 101 things list, so in theory, 101 things that I wanted to do throughout the year. But for 2025, I'm renaming this to side quests, and I'm only going with 52. We're gonna fill this one in a second, but before I fill these in, I always like to flip back and have a look at how this year was going. Part of the reason I decided to go from 101 things down to 52 is because I couldn't actually think of 101 things that I wanted to do this year. I probably could have racked my brain and thought of some more things to add to this list, because I certainly had milestone moments and things that were memorable and exciting, but I don't typically like to fill in this list after I've done something. Unlike my daily checklist, where I'm totally fine with doing that, I like this to be a place for intentions that I then work towards and accomplish. Given that I couldn't think of 101 things this year, we are going to go with 52, but let's have a look and see how these ones went. Just looking at the structure of the list, you can see we have a checkbox down the side where I can check off to say something's happened. We have a decent number of check marks, but also quite a few that are still open. Next to this, I also include a number so I can keep track of how many things I have on my list. We have the task itself, and then on the right hand side, I have the date so that I know when the thing got accomplished. Starting at number 1, the first one is get a will. This has been on my list for multiple years. I am going to be moving it forward though, because I do still think it's important. It's just not been something that I have prioritized this year. The second item was have an art and wine night. Technically speaking, it wasn't a wine night, it was an art and cocktail night, but my partner and best friend, Vogel and Rachel, organized one of these for my birthday. It was so much fun. I definitely would like to have another one. Number 3 is have a spa day. That one is going to get pushed forward because I still want to do it. It actually got pushed forward from last year as well, but I just think this would be a really nice self-care task, and maybe I could use it as one of the rewards in my life admin RPG system. If you hadn't heard about that, there's a link in the description box. But for number 4, we have do a proper website launch, and this is something that I know I'm gonna need to get help with because I'm not really all that savvy when it comes to website design and making it look very kind of nice but also functional. And yeah, Shopify, which is the hosting space that I use for my website, does make it fairly easy, but I think my website's a little pedestrian, could just use a little bit of TLC. Number 5 is have a staycation. I would still like to do that. This is actually something I have done previously and really enjoyed. It just didn't end up being a priority this year. And then we have set a date for our wedding. We have a day in mind, but not a year, and you kind of need the year for it to be a date, so we might have to push that one forward as well. Number 7, make chicken korma from scratch. I'm still very keen to do this. If you have a good chicken korma recipe, you let me know because I'm very keen for it. While yes, I could just go and find one online, if you have one that you can vouch for, I'd rather just hear about your recipe. The next one we have is make a memberships trailer. I still want to do that, even though our membership system has changed. We're just on YouTube now rather than YouTube and Patreon. And I do think this would be a good resource for me to have, so I'm going to move that one forward. One thing in particular that I'm looking for when it comes to these little goals is making sure that they're not all too heavily focused on like one life area. There is probably going to be a decent chunk that are focused on work, because I do have a lot of little work goals that I want to work on, but I also want to make sure that there are other things like related to health and social connection and spending time with Vogel and all of that kind of thing too. Number 9 is a Kai Time with Vogel episode. I think we're going to call time of death on that because I think neither of us really have much interest to do it. It might end up happening, but I'm not actually going to put it on my list. So hopefully you can see that because that one has been kind of scrapped or cancelled, I'm just using a straight line, whereas for the ones that I know are going to be brought forward, those ones get a little migration arrow. Number 10, host a cocktail night. That one did happen on April 13th. It was a lot of fun. We made it book themed, so everybody picked their own book and then made a cocktail based on that book. Number 11, have a favorite things day. Number 11 is always have a favorite things day, and it always happens on the 11th because I put it on my birthday. This year it featured McDonald's breakfast, gaming time, going out for dinner, just having a good chill day. Sadly, number 12 didn't happen, which was finish all 12 book club books. I didn't finish the one from September, and this technically is going to be a goal for next year, but it's in my reading journal and I'm not going to be putting it on my 52 and 52. So yes, like technically getting taken forward, just not getting taken forward in this journal. Number 13, get a new to us car. We did do this. It felt like a kind of big accomplishment. It's the first time I've bought a car for myself. I mean, technically it was for Vogel as well, but like, we're just gonna say that I bought it for me. Her name is Claire, she is such a cutie. But number 14 is organize my Spotify playlists. This is something I desperately want to do because I was listening to a particular playlist yesterday and it only has 29 songs in it, which really isn't sufficient. I'm like, I need more songs in at least that playlist in particular, and probably to organize the rest of them. And then we get into a little stretch of completed items. So we have 15, do a movie marathon weekend, did that. Number 16, a sensory deprivation tank. Vogel and I did that. That was really fun. Number 17 was make my goal setting course. And then number 18 was to release it to founding members, with 19 being releasing it to everyone. That was definitely a highlight of my year. I was very pleased with how that came together and how it was received by people. If you're curious about it, that one's also linked in the description box. Number 20, I am definitely taking that forward because I'm very curious about this, but I want to either make confit garlic or roasted garlic. I think this is one thing that in my head I've built it up to be like a difficult thing, even though I think it's not technically supposed to be too difficult. I just have to actually do it. And then for number 21, we had get the deck stained. It did happen, I just didn't write down the date that it happened, and getting the windows washed, we got that done in January. I think the reason that getting the deck stained didn't get written down is because they kept changing the date they were going to come and do it, but it has been done. It's looking very good. For number 23, we have get a pressure washer. I am going to cancel that task because I think that possibly instead of us getting a pressure washer, I might just get somebody to come and do the pressure washing for me. I'm kind of just taking that as a support local moment. Like, I'm gonna get somebody whose actual job it is to do pressure washing to do the pressure washing, because they'll probably do a better job of it, and then it means that Vogel doesn't have to do it, and we can have like a cozy gaming day instead. Number 24 is make a content creator Notion template, and while this is still something I would like to do, I'm not gonna bring it forward just because I don't really want to make it a priority. So still could happen next year, but it won't be on my 52 and 52. One that I enjoy having on my list every year is writing a letter to future Jess. So in this list in particular, it was for 2025 Jess. In the list for next year, it'll be for 2026 Jess. Moving on to number 26, this one was also a standout highlight for me, and that was starting my newsletter. I've been kind of overwhelmed at the reception of it. It's been really nice to have people say that they value what we're sharing in there. We actually recently passed 10,000 subscribers to the newsletter, so if that is you, thank you so much for being part of the newsletter team. If you wanted to get in on that though, that one's also linked in the description box. For number 27, we had get my eyes tested. I did that at the start of the year in January. And then we have go to the dentist, go to a chiropractor, get a cervical smear, which I am not going to bring forward because I don't necessarily want to have 3 items on my only 52 item list to be taken up with that stuff, but I do still think it warrants doing next year, even if it's not necessarily one of my mini goals. Maybe I'll move it to my future me problems list instead. Number 31 was go to a coffee shop to work. I still want to do that, and in particular I want to do that in January. I've put it on my self-care bingo board. And then number 32 was get tested for ADHD. I got the forms, I filled in the survey, I got other people to fill in the survey, and I didn't take it back to the doctor, and that happened in April, so I'm kind of like, do I now have to redo the paperwork? I'm not going to put it on my list for next year, but maybe we'll see if it happens. Another little collection of things that did get checked off though. So we have number 33, celebrate my 33rd birthday. Number 34, go wild in Texas. That was a lot of fun. And a really special standout of that was number 35, having a JCC meetup in Texas. It's always really nice getting to meet you in person. So, you know, if I'm ever around your neck of the woods, make sure that you come meet up with me. It'll be fun. For number 36, we had host a readathon. And in particular, this was the Goober readathon hosted by myself, Rachel and Monica, or the hosts of the Bourgeois Buddies book club. It was really fun putting together an intentional challenge for the community, and we're totally going to be doing one in 2026. In fact, we already actually have a year-long reading challenge, but anyway. Staying in the realm of books, number 37 was go on a Sydney bookshop hop. This idea literally started because Rachel shared a reel or a TikTok or something saying like, hey, there's this bookshop in Sydney, we should go. And so it was all kind of like, haha, yeah, we should like fly to Sydney to go bookshop hopping. And then of course I was like, yes, we should do this, I'm being serious, I will plan it. I think that was the first overseas trip that I've taken with friends that wasn't like, you know, staying at a family member's house or anything like that, so that felt very special. And then for number 38, we have get new bedside tables. I'm technically cancelling this one, but that's because I'm going to change it slightly and make it more focused on the overall bedroom rather than just the bedside tables, because if I'm gonna get new bedside tables, then I also want to get a new tall boy, and I also want to get a new set of drawers so that they all kind of match. So I'd rather just combine those all in one thing. Up next we have finish setting up my shelves. That one I am going to migrate forward because I want to do a big revamp of my shelves and just make them look a little bit nicer. I do love the journal rainbow. It is beautiful. It won't be going anywhere. It's more so just decorating it and making it feel nicely balanced in terms of where things are placed. I am definitely not an interior designer, so I'm gonna have to do some research. For number 40, we have get a desktop mat. So this is effectively just like a mouse mat that you put on your desktop. It was mainly so that when I put my phone on my desktop, it didn't feel like it was just going crash into the actual desk itself. That one was actually gifted to me by Monica as part of our like Secret Santa kind of thing. So that one was really cool. And then for number 41, we have restructure and organize my file storage. I'm gonna technically cancel this one because it is gonna get changed into more of like a digital declutter and revamp. So tweaking the wording, I'm gonna cancel the task. The next one we have is make an office inventory. I don't really think I need this. Like, yes, I understand that it could be helpful for, you know, in cases of insurance claims, just in case anything happens, knock on wood, but it just isn't really a priority for me, so I don't think I need to put it on my list of 52. We have sell my old laptop, which I'm taking off the list, but still hoping will happen. That one's gonna be more of a future me problem rather than a mini goal, and it's probably getting to the point where the laptop should just go to the e-waste because it's been many moons since I started putting this on my list. And the next one we have though is help mum and dad declutter for moving. That one happened. They have now moved into their new house, which is just very exciting. And then number 45 was to formalize my quarterly planning routine. I don't necessarily know what I meant by that. I don't know what I really was kind of envisioning or looking for there, so we're gonna cross it off for now. And then we have cable manage under my desk. Now I think this might happen before the end of the year, so I'm gonna leave the circle open and just hope that I actually get around to it. It sounds probably a little silly, but I know that to cable manage my desk, I need to turn off my computer, and because I've been so go with Vlogmas, I'm like, I can't possibly turn off my computer, we need to keep it on. Yes, I know, the computer doesn't like that and I shouldn't do it, but it is what it is. For number 47 though, we have get my computer repaired. Technically, I repaired it by replacing it. I guess that's kind of one way to do things. I still have my old one. We just turned it into kind of like a lounge room computer. So if Vogel wants to play computer games but sitting in front of the TV, he can do it down there. For number 48, we have a solo date. That was one I know I brought forward, but I'm going to cross it off for now. And I think it's mainly just because I prefer going out with other people. Like, I can understand why past Jess had this on her list, and I can very much see merits in like enjoying your own company and treating yourself and all of that kind of thing, but I'd really just rather take Vogel along with me. For number 49, we have get a new printer. That one also happened in January. I love my new printer. My old printer sucked. It was so bad. And this new one I like much more. And then for number 50, we have a Discord server user guide video. I'm not necessarily against it, but it's just not really a priority right now. Flipping over, because we would fit, 50 tasks on one list and then 51 on the other. So here we have 1 to 50, and then we have 51 to 101. The first of these being plan Vogel a Taskmaster birthday party. That one was a lot of fun to plan, and I know that he really enjoyed it, so that felt very fulfilling. And then number 52 was buy cozy decor for the lounge room. I don't necessarily know if throw blankets and pillows count as decor. Again, like, very not knowledgeable in the world of interior design, but I bought them and it's cozy and I love them. For number 53, we have set up a physical health journal. I set it up. I'm not necessarily the greatest at using it, but that's something I do want to probably bring into my list for next year, just revamping it and thinking about ways I could better use it. And then for number 54, we have learn crochet basics, because I really want to know how to crochet, but I just keep not prioritizing it. I think it's because there are other hobbies that I would rather do with the free time that I have, which is already kind of limited by personal choice and lack of boundary keeping. So I think for this one, I'm going to cross it off for now, but it might be something we revisit in future. For number 55, we have rearranged the office. This one is technically kind of in process. Actually, you know what? I think we can say that I did rearrange it. Like, the desk is in a different spot, the shelves have moved. So even though it's not fully done yet, like it's still kind of a mess, it is technically rearranged. For number 56, we have use the Cricut to make stickers. I did do this. I did it for Vogel's birthday actually, for the Taskmaster pieces. So they weren't necessarily the stickers I was intending on doing, but I have done it. For number 57, we have participate in the magical readathon. I started kind of formally participating in September. And then we have reading journal printables, which I guess I technically did make because I made my bookshelf printable, so that one can get checked off. For number 59, we had do another bullet journal collab, and that one happened on November 30th, or at least that's when the video came out. And for number 60, we had have a coloring date. This is essentially where you just get some coloring books and sit around with your friends and eat bad food, watch a movie or listen to an audiobook or something, and do your coloring in. That one was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to do that again. For number 61, we have celebrate Alina's first birthday. That's my best friend's kid. And then for number 62, we have a solo play date with Alina. This is something that maybe we could do next year, though I know I am not her default babysitter, and that's okay, because that's what her grandma's for. Number 63, we have try a new bubble tea flavor, and while I can understand why that ended up on my list, like it's nice to try new things, I also just have my favorites, and if I'm gonna spend the money to get a bubble tea, I'd rather just get a flavor I know I like. For number 64 though, we had go to a Bookstagram meetup. I am not a Bookstagrammer, I do not consider myself a Bookstagrammer, but Monica is, and there was one for the Wellington-based Bookstagrammers, so I decided I'd go along with her and Rachel. I personally had a lot of fun. I thought it was just nice to meet other people who are kind of in that space, even if I did feel like a little bit of a fraud being there because I'm not really a Bookstagrammer. And then for number 65, we have make a list of foods I want to cook. I think for right now, it's really just me wanting to make the roasted garlic or the confit garlic and the chicken korma. That's list enough. I mean, it's only 2 items and I didn't like formally write it down though, so we're just gonna cross that one off. For number 66 though, we have a WOAP meal. So this is Wellington on a plate. We were going to go out and have a meal, but we just decided that we actually didn't like the sound of any of the burgers enough to bother going out and having one. And then for number 67, we have pay off my student loan, which was another big highlight from the year. That one happened at the start of October. We often joke in New Zealand that like paying off your student loan is often the biggest pay rise you're gonna get. So that one felt like a special moment. Then we have a lot of blank space for all the things that I couldn't really think of, because the last 2 things that I usually like to put on my list are celebrating New Year's Eve with my friends, which I'm hoping to do, but it's not New Year's Eve just yet, so I can't check it off, and writing my 101 things list for next year. Now, notably, it's only going to be 52, but I am technically doing that now, so I'm going to check it off. And we can write down today's date. Now, as this list has been analysed though, and we've gone through and checked off the things that happened and pushed forward the ones that I hope to do next year, and also crossed out the ones that I'm just not going to be taking forward, now we can flip ahead and fill in this list. Now, it's going to be filled in pretty much the same way, just writing in the task. I've already gone in and have my numbers and the little check boxes, but I also have some symbols that I'm going to want to add as well. Some of these won't get used until the end of next year when I'm going through and analysing this list for my 2026 list, but some of them I can go and put some signifiers on. For instance, this one is going to be something that's carried forward. This one is going to be something that is new for this year. We have a star for a priority task and a $sign for anything that requires some funds. I'm thinking I might put those symbols along next to the date, or maybe one column over or something, so there's a little bit of a buffer, just because I don't really want to put them at the start of the task section. Yeah, I'll probably put them over there. For this part though, I just went through and considered all of the things that I had on last year's list that I wanted to move forward, and anything else that I wanted to bring into my list as a new item. I decided to leave all of the coding until the end after I've written down all of my items, and this is actually the first year that I decided to write all of my items in advance. While previously I have enjoyed having a little bit of wiggle room or some buffer on my list so that I could add things as the year progresses, this didn't really work out for 2024, so I figured for 2025, Jess, we're just going to try out having a completely full list from the get-go. In terms of sequencing the items, usually what I like to do is try and align them to the number. So for instance, if I'm turning a particular age, I'll put celebrate my birthday on that number. I always like to have celebrate a favorite things day on number 11, but this time around I thought I'd make it maybe a little bit easier for myself to find items by grouping them by category. I don't actually go and write in what the categories are anywhere, but in general we have things like personal development, stuff related to my house, things that I want to celebrate, social tasks, things to do with Vogel, stuff related to finances, stuff related to my digital spaces, a good chunk of items related to work, and then ones related to health, cooking and eating, and then just some eclectic ones. I think by having these different sections of these kind of like themed categories of ideas, it'll just help me more easily use my list and find those items without having to read through every single thing. But in terms of the items that I decided to include, we have write a letter to myself for 2026, make my Notion personal knowledge management system, read a book that was not recommended by a friend, cut journal header stickers using my Cricut, so a little bit more specific than last year. In terms of home related ones, I want to make labels for my office drawers so I more easily know where things are, and I also want to find a storage solution for my calligraphs because the one I have right now just is not cutting it. For number 7, I want to reorganize my bookshelves, so bringing that forward from 2024, and I also want to decorate the walls of my office because they're looking a little bit bland. For number 9, I want to properly set up my cozy reading corner in my office. This is something I started this year but needs to be finished off. And the next one is revamping our bedroom storage and organization, so expanding this from just the bedside tables to other areas as well. For number 11, I'd like to make a succulent terrarium, or what I keep calling a succulent rarium, but I don't know if that's an official term or not. And I'd also like to try my hand at growing a plant from a cutting. I've been getting more into plant care in the later half of this year, and it's something that I've been really enjoying. Onto the category of celebrations. For number 13, I want to have a favorite things day. This will probably happen on my birthday like it usually does, but I also want to separately celebrate my birthday. I do typically record these as separate things because when I put them into practice, they are separate things. For number 15 though, I would like to celebrate a novel holiday with my friends, something that isn't your typical holiday like Easter, Christmas, whatever else, but maybe something like Donut Day. We can have a donut party. I'd also like to celebrate Halloween, Christmas, and New Year's Eve, so I put those in here as well. And then for number 19, I want to host a reading getaway weekend. This is effectively taking our typical readathon kind of days where we just get together and camp out in my lounge room and do some cozy reading, and instead take a trip away to like an Airbnb or some kind of like homestay-esque type thing and have the full weekend for cozy reading. Probably gonna maybe try and schedule that for a long weekend. We'll have to wait and see. For number 20, I want to go to a planner conference. I haven't specified which one, but it might be Go Wild. We'll see what happens. And then in the realm of tasks related to Vogel, I would like to plan our wedding. Now I know I was gonna do that this year and it didn't happen, but it's kind of getting to the point where I feel like we've been engaged long enough that we could like actually do the thing. It'll be really fun watching this video back next year and being like, oh look, we still didn't do it. But I'm hoping that's not the case. For number 22, I'd like to have a weekend getaway with Vogel. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And also have a formal staycation with him. So not just like a day where we hang out on the couch, but more so a properly planned out in advance full weekend where we have a staycation. For number 24, I'd also like to take an overseas trip with Vogel. I'm not too sure where just yet, but it'd be nice to go somewhere new. And for number 25, carrying over the fact that I would like to get a will. This is also something that involves Vogel, which is why it's in the Vogel category. On the topic of finances, I have a new savings goal for the new year. And then in terms of digital related tasks, we have revamping my Spotify playlists and also doing a full digital declutter. Just getting rid of all of the kind of like entropy and disorder in my digital spaces and making them a place where I can feel a little more at peace. Heading into the work related stuff, for which I have quite a list, we have making a personalized live stream intro sequence, so rather than just using the default countdown that comes with the software I use, making something that is actually a little bit more me. And I'd also like to make a video promo for Epic Goals. Currently the landing page that gives you information about how it works doesn't have any kind of video content there, and given the fact that I make a lot of videos and the course itself is a video course, it kind of makes sense to have a video on there as well, I feel. I also carried over the idea of making a memberships trailer, so that one is number 31. And then for number 32, I'd like to get a community manager for our community Discord server. While for the most part I can handle the work in there, like it's not that much work, it would be something I'd like to hand off to someone else, and that can be like their thing, and then I can focus my time, effort, and attention on other areas. Not to say I wouldn't still be in the community server, because I do enjoy hanging out in there, but more so the day-to-day going-ons and running of that, it would be for somebody else. I'd also like to get an editor for my videos, because I don't I don't enjoy editing, I really don't. So it would be nice to have somebody else who could edit my videos for me, at least in part. It would definitely cut down the amount of time that I spend working, which would be very much appreciated. And I think that if I managed to do that, then I could also look into reviving the vlog channel. So I put that one in for number 34. For 35 though, I have a thumbnails course that I'd like to finish off. And for number 36, I'd like to make a journaling related course. Obviously this year we had the goals course, but I thought it'd be nice to have a digital course that was related to journaling in some way, whether that be more specifically bullet journaling related or creative journaling or possibly about reading journaling. I don't have any formal plans in mind just yet, but I think that's something I'd like to explore. For number 37, I have doing a proper website launch, so probably getting somebody to help me come in and like neaten things up, just make it look a little bit more presentable. And I'd also like to release a merch type product. This is something that I've been interested in previously, but I never kind of knew if anybody would be interested in it. I think it'd be kind of fun though. I'm not too sure what it would look like, but I think it'd be an interesting project to explore. Along with that, I'd also like to release a physical product, one that's not specifically merch related, but is something that's like, you know, tangible, tactile, you know, you can hold it in your hands. And then for number 40, I want to deck out the layout library so that we have all of that completely up to date for anybody who's in our membership tiers 2 and 3. I also wanted to bring over having an outside of the office work day, so maybe going down to a coffee shop and doing some digital work on my tablet, or taking my journals and journaling supplies and setting up some layouts, something like that. Moving into the realm of health though, for number 42, we have doing a week with no work in the evenings. I can already foresee this as being quite an accomplishment because I'm not very good at not working in my evenings. And then for number 43, I brought forward having a spa day. This is still something that I'd like to do, I just need to intentionally schedule it. Something related to this is having what I'm calling a high-key everything shower. So not just an everything shower, but it's like an elevated everything shower, where we do absolutely everything. The full body scrub, the hair mask, the face mask, exfoliating, all of the stuff. Just feeling very pampered, but more so at home rather than going to like a spa day somewhere else. Something that I've been curious to try is meditation. So for number 45, we have actively trying meditation. I don't necessarily know exactly what that's gonna look like now, like how many days in a row do I have to try and meditate? For how long do I have to meditate? It's something that I'll need to look into. And then I'd also like to revamp my health journal for active use so that I'm using it on a more kind of like frequent scale. Maybe checking in with that every couple of days or something. Maybe I could have some affirmations in there or something like that. Just making some changes so that I'm more regularly checking in with it. When thinking about cooking and eating, I want to do a full cycle of weekly meal prepped lunches. So this is effectively like 4 weeks in a row where I have meal prepped my lunches, even if only for like some days in the week. But this is something that I want to do in general next year, so I thought that setting the goal of having a full month or full cycle of those done would just be a good start. For number 48, I want to make confit or roasted garlic, and then 49, I want to make chicken korma from scratch. Again, if you have a recipe for either of those, you let me know. For 50 and 51, I made this related to my life admin RPG system, so reaching level 1 in all of my skill areas and reaching level 5 in all of my skill areas. I know that some of those are going to be harder or easier to complete, so I figured that getting a baseline for all of them was good, and then getting myself like half the way up the ladder for all of them would be another good check-in point. And then for number 52, we have writing my 52 in 52 list for 2026. I always like to finish off the list like this. It might feel like kind of a wasted slot, but I don't care, I like it. Once I'd written all of the items on the list though, then I could go through and use my symbols to code them in terms of which ones were new for the year, which ones had been carried forward, and which ones in particular required funds. I didn't go and put any priority ones down just yet, because I'm not too sure what my priorities are going to be when I actually start using my journal. And notably, I didn't need to use any migrated or cancelled arrows because I don't use those until the end of next year. I am super excited about getting in and doing these things for the next year, and I'm also interested to see if my completion percentage is higher given the fact that I've shortened my list, kind of condensed it to things that I think are going to be a little more impactful, or things that I just really want to do as opposed to kind of filler tasks. I would love to hear about any of the goals that you have planned for next year, whether they be bigger or smaller. And if you wanted to check out more bullet journal content related to goals and goal setting, then this playlist is the next one to check out. That one has things like how I like to set goals, the different layouts that I use to do this in my journal. So click or tap on that one and I'll see you over there.